Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch, and welcome today to a review of something a little bit different, but something we're beginning to see more and more of in the market. A Chinese watch that's proud to be a Chinese watch. There's a small but growing number of companies now, such as ALIEXPRESS for example, making products emphasizing their utilization of Chinese craftsmanship. And we've seen brands like San Martin and their sister brand Jianghun displaying design elements referencing Chinese culture and Chinese history. Today I'm going to review a relatively new Chinese brand called HALCYON and their JOUNEY model that does both of those things. It utilizes Chinese craftsmanship in the manufacture of its porcelain dial, which it then adorns with traditional Chinese characters. Again, this is something that we're seeing more and more of these days, whether it's Arabic dials or kanji dials, people either looking for something with a specific cultural reference or just looking for something a little bit different to add to their collection. Now, you saw the pop-up? This video is sponsored by HALCYON. I will therefore of course leave a link to this watch in the description of the video. There's currently a bit of a price special on these. There's 20% off the already discounted price, so a double discount for the next 10 days or so anyway. I will however circle back to price a bit later on, as I always do, because price is always important. Let's start then by having a look at the packaging. And I must say the packaging could definitely be improved upon. It's got a bit of a white label feel to it at the moment, if you know what I mean. Plain white box, unbranded clamshell style packaging arrangement. It does, however, bring it back a bit with an outstanding metal welcome card. I can't even describe it as a warranty card because it's not actually a warranty card. The watch does come with a 2-year warranty, by the way. At first glance, the watch looks very, very simple because it is very, very simple. Really, this one is all about the dial today, and it's a combination of two different factors, I think, that make it a bit special. The first is the dial material. As discussed, that material is porcelain. China is globally famous as the home of porcelain. Porcelain is a form of ceramic that was developed in China well over 1,000 years ago and has slowly spread across East Asia and the rest of the world since then. So it's thoroughly fitting that a proudly Chinese watch should have a porcelain dial. Porcelain gives a lovely warmth and a kind of natural look to the dial. These are all handmade, and perhaps you can see here when I move the watch around, it's not a smooth dial surface. It does have variations in the materials. Hands are slender and thermally blued. Because of the colour contrast, they're still reasonably noticeable even though they are slim, but nothing that gets in the way of admiring the dial. And HALCYON do refer to the manufacturing process on their website, including mention of one of the only 3 masters of porcelain watchmaking who is actually manufacturing the dials by hand. And there are a few pictures on their website showing a man who I presume is the aforementioned master working on a dial before firing it in a traditional pine wood fired brick kiln. They also state that due to the incredibly fine tolerances they're working to, only 1 in 100 dials actually meets the standards and becomes a dial inside a watch. That is a phenomenal failure rate and perhaps explains some of the costs today. Perhaps they could have made a little bit more of this manufacturing process on their website because, like I said, it's one of their 2 USPs with this watch. The other USP on this watch anyway are the Suzhou numerals. These numerals were the traditional numerals used in China before the introduction and spread of what we know as the Arabic numerals or Indo-Arabic numerals. They've almost now been replaced entirely, much like Roman numerals have in Europe, and indeed HALCYON offer the JOURNEY with Roman numerals if you prefer, which seems to be fitting. However, what also seems fitting is if you're going to buy a Chinese watch made by a Chinese artisan, you should really go for the one with Chinese numerals on the dial, and that's why I asked them to send me this one. So there you go then, handmade porcelain dial with printed Suzhou numerals on top of it. What about the rest of the watch then? Well, the rest of the watch is really very, very simple. The dial is the star of the show, and there is nothing to detract from the show's star, including the dimensions, those being 40mm in diameter, 11.9mm thick, 46 lug to lug, 20mm between the lugs, as supplied on a Very pleasant, soft and supple leather strap. It weighs in at 71 grams. Water resistance is 50 meters. Crystal is double dome sapphire. And it comes with a choice of movements. The one on the table here contains a Miyota 9039, but you can also spec the same watch with a Sellita SW200 if you want to spend a bit more money. Case finish, also very, very simple. High polished traditional three-piece case. There's a double curve step to the fixed bezel, nicely integrated sapphire, short lugs, which is a good move, always a good move really, but I gotta say the crown is underwhelming. It's too small, it's unbranded, and it's not particularly easy or particularly pleasant to operate. Nice case back though, screw on stainless steel with the usual spec sheet and an attractive, well, I think it looks like an ancient Chinese phoenix logo in the middle with the brand name. Strap, as discussed, is lovely. Again, definitely an off-the-shelf item, it's unbranded and it doesn't have quick release, but it's really soft, calf leather I presume by the feel of it. The buckle and tang is branded but only on the underside. It's high polished to match the watch, but it is a non-traditional shape, shall we say. On wrist there are no surprises whatsoever. It's a 40-20, the strap is comfortable, it doesn't weigh a lot. I've had this one on for about the last 3 days continuously, day and night. Very, very comfortable to wear, and the crown may be tiny, but at least it doesn't dig into the back of your hand as a consequence. Legibility is okay because of the colour contrast between dial and hands, and due to the slender bezel, it's a big dial for a watch with this case profile. There are a couple of strap upgrade options, including alligator and bamboo look alligator, whatever that is. I'm not really sure that you need that though, with a dial this clean, this pure, and this simple. Alright, moans and niggles. Well, I've already talked about the small crown and the slightly generic packaging, and clearly there are no minute markers on the dial, so you're only ever going to set this one vaguely accurately. And then there is the loom, or lack of loom should I say. They have for some reason chosen to put a second hand with a loom tip on it, but no loom anywhere else on the dial. Yes. And then there's the website. I think the website could also do with a bit of streamlining. I know you don't buy or wear a website on your wrist, but I don't think the brand is doing themselves any favours currently. They should be talking more about how these dials are made, because the dial is the watch's USP. Also, there were no photos, I repeat, no photos of the watch on the strap as it was supplied to me. If this is the standard strap, then you need to show the watch on the standard strap rather than on the upgraded straps or even this random green one. And the photo on the website shows a sterile case back rather than the one with the phoenix on it. Like I said, it needs a bit of streamlining because at the moment they are underselling the watch. And I haven't talked yet about price, so let's do that now. Again, some streamlining here would definitely be to their benefit. At the moment, the website suggests that the Miyota powered watch has an RRP of $1,199 but is on special at $819. But if you dig a little deeper, you can find a code for another 20% off the watch, taking the watch down to $655, which is 45% off that $1,200 headline RRP. There are similar discounts available on the Sellita powered version, which nets it down to $879. Prices include shipping and all import taxes and duties, by the way, but it's all just too clunky and convoluted at the moment. Now, I guess you can look at this one of two ways. Either $655 is a lot of money for a very plain and simple Miyota powered watch and a leather strap, or $655 is not a lot of money for a watch with a traditionally made porcelain dial crafted by an artisan with a 99% failure rate. That goes back to my point about them cleaning up their website a bit and really telling the watch's story more clearly than they currently are. And it's not the only watch with a handmade enamel dial you can buy for under $1,000. I found this Seiko Pressage limited edition with a handmade enamel dial created by a master craftsman in Japan, etc, 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 for under 1,300 Aussie dollars, making it less than $800 US, making it cheaper than the Sellita powered HALCYON. Which one would you rather have? Maybe if they could get the price of the Miyota down to $499, this watch would be a very different proposition. But I'm really keen to see where this brand goes. If you look at what Atelier Wen have done, really leveraging off the craftsmanship of their dials and the artisans that manufacture those dials, and they built a brand around that. They built a story around that. I think if HALCYON can start doing something similar, maybe adding a bit of color to the porcelain and doing something that fuses these traditional elements but in a slightly more contemporary package perhaps, I reckon they could do really, really well if they can keep their prices down underneath the 1,000 US dollar mark. So there you have it, an interesting one today, all about the dial, and if you see value in the craftsmanship, then there's value in the watch. If you don't see value in the craftsmanship, you probably switched off 8 minutes ago anyway. Well done for making it all the way to the end of the video. While you're here, why not check out my review of the Atelier Wen Perception or the San Martin Year of the Dragon. Thanks for watching this one. I'll see you again in the next one.